Hello, let's get started with our recommended daily activity exercises for today. We're going to be focusing on upper body, and today you will need a couple of pieces of equipment. Minimally one of the following. You're going to need a dumbbell or a resistance band or something that you can at least grab a hold of that's a little bit more weight than your arm, because we are going to be working on some overhead holds. And that's what we'll start today at. I think Rice is going to use the simple dumbbell, but let's show how you would use something like a resistance band, which I would recommend if you have it. These elastic bands really help us to train a bit more stability, which is what the point of this first exercise is, the single arm press. So go ahead and use the dumbbell. The single arm press and hold, or an overhead hold, we're going to load in a good safe position, which I like to split my stance up first. So she's loaded in a staggered stance with the same side leg as the back leg and support leg. She softens her stance, tightens her belly, and presses to hold. With the resistance band, you can see I can press here underneath my armpit, or I could take it on the back side. I prefer underneath. And again, that resistance band gives us a little bit more of the shaking and trembling. You have all begun. Risa did about 10 extra seconds there. We won't tell her though. You're going to hold it 30 seconds on each side. Now, finding the appropriate load, obviously a water bottle that's full may be a little bit more than you can handle, so dump some of the water out. If it's not enough resistance, you're going to find something that challenges you here to stabilize, to brace your spine by pulling the upper belly in tight, tightening through the abs, softening your knees and hips, so that everything in that center is tucked and you can rest on side A. And we'll switch to side B. We switch our stance so that we have that good strong base, always starting with a solid foundation. Load and press and hold. She's giving you that palms forward position. Palms forward is a pretty tight, restricted position. Now this exercise altogether is quite a bit riskier than a normal press. The overhead press is going to target a lot of our smaller muscle groups, a lot of our stabilizing muscles through the shoulder complex, and it's going to push some folks' limitations. If you have health history in your shoulders, you may not get all the way up overhead. You may have to soften your elbow and minimize that range of motion a bit. And you can rest as well on side B. So the overhead press and hold is a bit more advanced. Start low, work into it with increments, and find that challenge over time. There should be a little bit of a stability challenge, a little shake and tremble. We're going to work on another coordination challenge in a different manner. We're going to work on getting our heart rate up primarily, but with this we're going to switch up the brain to body connections a little bit. We're going to start with what we call a side jack. Now if you're capable of doing jumping jacks or split jacks, you could certainly do that in this exercise as well. But the side jack requires that you just step to the side and raise those hands like a jumping jack. So our palms are forward. Let's go ahead and begin with that side jack. Alternating the side steps, same motion with the hands. We're going to do this for 30 seconds, nice and smooth. Again, if you have the capability to do some jumping, then jumping jacks would be perfect right here. The regular old jumping jack for this first version. We have another 10 seconds in it. Somebody here's some videotaping coming up. I think we're going to get joined by a visitor. Okay? And then we're going to go into our side jacks now with a frontal shoulder raise. So the same side leg is going to raise overhead. And sagittal shoulder raise, raising that arm up in front. Good, we got 30 seconds of that. What's up, Miss Barley? Did you come up to do some exercise? 30 seconds of the, I would call this, we used to do these as split jacks. So if you were here in this exercise and you're able to manage a little bit higher impact, higher velocity, and higher load exercise, we would do the split jack here. Nice and easy. This is just a total body coordination. You can rest. To get the blood flowing from the shoulders, lower body, a little bit more muscle group coordination and challenge for your brain to body as well as your cardiovascular system. Now we're going to go with a corrective exercise for our shoulders, which is the bent over 90 to 90 row and an optional rotate. So that's a Y position. If you see it from my standing position, it looks just like a Y or a W, field goal kind of position. So you're here, you pull those arms up and rotate if you can. Go ahead and show them from the side. The row, rotate. Good. Let's begin a minute straight of the row and rotate. A minute of this should be plenty of time to start to feel some good fatigue and burn through the back of those shoulders. These are some of the most neglected, I would say, muscle groups in those posterior shoulder. Your rotator cuff muscles, your scapular retractors, some of those stabilizing muscles up there. Remember, if this, again, health history of your shoulder has limitations and it comes with pain to do maybe this rotation, then you can just minimize that like she's showing you here with just that row, that retraction and what's called horizontal abduction of the upper arm that's helping us fight our tight chest muscles. We're also getting a posterior chain workload here in those lower back muscles. You can rest. Good job. Good. Now we're going to let some of those muscles that have been working in all of these exercises relax into a good range of motion. A lot of this workout today is overhead. So we're going to be working on an overhead stretch. Again, I can't stress it enough not to stress yourself too much. We don't want to force a stretch that causes any pain here. What Rice is going to do is reach toward her neck to start this. So everyone's going to be able to do this slightly different depending on the length of your arm, any health history. But she's reaching back toward her neck and she's going to support this stretch. Pretty common stretch in the fitness industry. You may have seen it. The hand placement may change a little bit. All of us are going to have a different range of motion. Rice is actually doing this to modify. Show them how you can pull it all the way back there. She's got pretty good shoulder range of motion. But what I don't want to see is that your belly puffs out, your back arches trying to achieve this stretch here. We want to get a light stretch through the tricep. Go ahead and begin if you have it. We'll do about 30 seconds on each side. So we're looking for a line of tension right through that tricep into the shoulder. The obvious stretch, much more the front of your mind, will be here in the underarm. And then if you turn this way lightly, you'll also get a shoulder complex stretch, maybe somewhere around the bottom of the shoulder blade or even up at the top corner of the shoulder blade where some of those muscles that connect to our shoulder blade transfer up into our neck. So you may actually feel this stretch up in your neck a little bit. All depends on where you carry your tension. Let's switch sides. Go ahead and turn back toward the camera. Typically, these underarm muscles are some of the tightest, especially from the connection of the tricep to the latissimus and some of your teres muscles and some of these shoulder blade scapular stabilizing muscles. These are pretty hyperactive and tight sometimes, hyperactive and weak other times, maybe a combination of all of those. So there's something that we need to move into range of motion with, but we have to do so very safely and easily. It's a risky stretch to start bringing that upper arm up into a compressed position and lengthening these muscles, so do so lightly. Go ahead and rest. If you have really good range of motion in that one, you may even be able to facilitate that with something like a band and use that to lock your hand in place. You may need to do that if you're very restricted. Take it easy as you move into that deeper range of motion overhead. Leaning side plank now. So we're going to take it into our core stabilization for today, which is also going to be a major shoulder stabilizing exercise. You could do this against the wall. If you just had the wall right next to you and you don't have anything else like a countertop or this half wall that Rice and I have. Rice is going to take a position slightly away from the wall, but where she can reach and put her hand on the base or on the countertop here. Then she's going to step out far enough that she's leaning. This is a leaning side plank. Now it's not as simple as we just made it sound. We have to kind of hone in on a couple of body markers to feel the effect of this. The first thing she's going to hone in on is shoulder blade depression. So keeping that arm pushing down into the countertop, she's tightening her underarm, creating a line of tension from the underarm all the way into the rib cage. The second thing she needs to hone in on and pay attention to is squeezing her belly and the obliques. So tightening that whole lateral line that she's creating tension and creating a little bit of leverage by leaning into that wall against is going to make the exercise much more effective. If you haven't begun, go ahead. We're going to give Rice about 10 more seconds on this side. By tightening those muscles but maintaining perfect posture with her shoulders square and her hips square, she's getting a good hyperactivation of our lateral aligned core and stabilizers through her shoulder. You can rest. This is a very moderate exercise. In reality, a lot of people may have the ability to do that side plank a little lower. You could bring a chair in and place it against the wall and maybe lean against it. You could lean against something with your forearm rather than your outstretched arm, and that would create a little bit more of an angle and load in on this exercise. Let's begin side B. Final exercise for our recommended daily activity today. It was a little bit more advanced, a lot of shoulder work here. Breathe and brace, that's the name of this one right here. It's an isometric exercise. Put your mind to your muscle, feel those target areas of the underarm to the obliques, a little bit in the hips here, and it'll get a little bit more effective. Another way you can make these exercises more effective here, this final one, go ahead and rest. You could really simply lift a leg up, lift that outside leg up, and create just a little extra workload on both sides. Remember, take these exercises at your own pace, introduce maybe multiple rounds to elevate the challenge or to get your heart rate up a little bit more and boost your endorphins. So not just elevating the challenge, but the payoff after the challenge.